Hello and welcome to another exciting BBA webinar. Happy New Year to all of you, and we hope you've had a restful holiday. Today's discussion is about the newly launched gas membrane approved installer scheme created in partnership with the industry and BBA with Juta UK. My name is Shamaila Yusuf, and I'll be hosting the conversation today. Before we start, just some housekeeping. In case this is your first time joining a BBA webinar, if you have any questions throughout the discussion, please submit them via the questions tab in your GoToWebinar screen, and we'll do our best to answer as many as we can at the end of the webinar. We are recording this webinar, so if you would like to rewatch it or share it with a colleague, please keep a lookout for the link, which we will publish soon after. Joining me today on the panel, we have Jeff Chambers, Technical Support within Construction Insurance at the BBA. He's been with the BBA for over 10 years and within the construction industry for over 40 years. Patrick Flood is the Technical Director at Juta UK. He is a geologist and geotechnical engineer with over 18 years of experience within research and design. His expertise lies within the field of geosynthetics. As a member of a number of trade associations and technical committees producing guidance, Patrick is an industry expert for ground gas membrane and waterproofing. Gordon Cave, MD of DMI Limited, has 30 years of experience in the installation of gas membrane and venting. He's also the co-author of CITB upskilling course and has delivered training to NHBC and local authorities. A very welcome to all of you, and thank you for being with us here today. We have a lot to share, so I'll just start off. So just to provide some context first, Jeff, would you be able to give us a bit of a background? What is the BBA gas membrane approved installer scheme, and why was it necessary for this to be set up?
Yes, thanks, Shemana. The background, we were contacted in late 2019 by Patrick asking if we could work with Juta to review the possibility of setting up a surveillance scheme for the gas membrane installations. Patrick was aware of our other approved schemes, but not fully on how they worked and the benefits that they brought to the scheme members. We had some initial discussions, but the dreaded COVID interrupted the progress for some time. Eventually we got together and we've managed to put the scheme together. The scheme is based on surveillance of the installation of the gas membrane to ensure the compliance with the requirements as set out in the agreement certificate holders installation methodology requirements and the agreement certificate. So that's the basics for the background.
Great. So we have a number of people joining us on the webinar today who might be interested in applying. Would you quickly talk us through what the eligibility requirements are and sort of how the process works?
Yeah, sure. It's based on a tri-party agreement, and that is between the certificate holder, their approved installers, and the BBA. The basics are that the certificate holder is responsible for the initial assessment of the installer to determine whether they're competent to install their product system, i.e. gas membrane. Following a successful assessment, the certificate holder will add their approved installer to their list or their registration. Then the installer will apply to the BBA to become a member of the BBA approved installer scheme. We as the BBA will contact the certificate holder, just confirmation from them that they are bona fide. We then arrange a two-phase assessment. The first phase will be the office assessment to look at their management system to ensure that it's suitable to cover all the aspects of the scheme requirements. And then we also do what's called a work in progress, and that's to see that they are actually installing in compliance with the methodology and the agreement certificate. We could potentially complete both of these on the same day, depending upon the location of the sites. Once that's been done and they're approved, we then will issue them the relevant documentation and complete the relevant site inspections throughout the year based on a percentage of the forecasted installs for that surveillance year by the installer.
Great. I suppose the next question naturally goes on to Patrick. Patrick, as a manufacturer, Why was it important for you for such a scheme such as this one to be set up?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. I think it's important we remember we're just one sort of tiny part of the construction industry, particularly the sort of gas membrane sector. And what we're trying to do is to just improve our tiny little bit. And if all parts of the chain improve small amounts, then that leads to quite a large change overall. But I mean, when it comes to gas protection, there's often this question of warranties, guarantees, design liability, and essentially having this point of contact when something goes wrong, if it goes wrong. And when it comes to workmanship or the installation of gas membranes or gas protection products, the only person who can ever be responsible for installing the product is the installer. It's a person that actually put it in the ground, fixed it to the structure. That's only ever the point of contact for the installation liability. And for materials, naturally, it's the manufacturer or the person who places that product onto the market. And a lot of the warranties and guarantees that exist in our marketplace are centered around products. They're essentially product warranties. And for the gas membrane sector and the competency of the supply chain, there are three working parts. The first is the design. So the detailed design and risk assessment of these systems, which is competency checked by degree qualified or chartered engineers, ASOBRA and SILK qualified people. These are specialist contaminated land qualified people. On the verification end, so where these products are signed off, there's competency schemes there in terms of MVQ level 4. They have a licensed verifier scheme to demonstrate competency for people checking the installations. And then there's us in the middle, the sort of the manufacturer and by definition the installer. We have individual qualifications for the installer, so things like MVQ level 2, which I think Gordon will touch on. And for the manufacturers, we have obviously the third-party accreditation with the likes of the BBA. And we're hearing at the moment in industry, everybody's hearing it. We want transparency in the supply chain. We want demonstration of competencies. We want to see leveling up strategies. Industry has to change for the better, not just for the short term, but to create these sustainable and resilient structures in the built environment. And building regulations are changing. We're seeing some big changes coming this year, and it's constant. There's lots of discussions happening at the minute around lots of different elements of construction. Change is here, so we can choose to stand still, bury our heads in the sand, hope the old ways stay here for a few more years, or we embrace that change and we start to make a difference. And Juta UK, we manufacture and supply a whole range of products across the built environment, from suds materials that for surface water attenuation, the ground gas and waterproofing, structural waterproofing membranes, the breather membranes for the cold side, warm side facade, the roofing materials. We have a whole host of agreement certificates. So we're seeing this holistic supply chain and how all the different elements are moving, and we're trying to change with it, and better ourselves in the industry, and for specifiers and architects to make their life easier, so they can make reference to accredited or licensed installers, and the rest of the supply chain is hopefully crystal clear for them, so they know they're getting competency when they're dropping the term accredited or licensed installer into their specifications. So yeah, for us, it's super important to have a scheme that links this supply chain from the manufacturer through accredited products into approved, accredited, licensed installers, which ultimately allows these installation companies access to insurance-backed guarantees for their workmanship. So you have that point of responsibility if something goes wrong, which is that comfort blanket that clients and owners and occupiers are always looking for. Sorry, I did go on a little bit, hopefully not too long.
No, it's fine. And so staying with you, Patrick, this scheme was developed in close alignment with Juta and DMI. Could you talk us through your initial reasons for approaching the BBA to create a scheme like this one, especially when trying to establish a consistent level of quality for manufacturers and installers to be closely aligned?
Was that voice to me?
Yes, Patrick. Yeah.
To me, or was that to Gordon?
Patrick.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we wanted to create something new, something innovative, something not just for Juta. So obviously we have space in the market, and we work with the BBA. So it's good for us to work with a globally recognized brand, which has this, 50, 60-year history of certifying and auditing products. It's good to be associated with that. But we wanted to create something that everybody can benefit from. So, not just us and our installers, but the whole of industry. So this isn't a scheme which is just designed for Juta or for DMI. This is open to all competent and efficient manufacturers of materials who go through the product audit process, and who are using competent installers. They can all have access to this scheme. Mindful of the building safety regulator, the construction product regulator, and this increasing development on brownfield land. Obviously, the government is subsidising development on brownfield. So it's all linked to that demonstration of competency and levelling up, and working together in collaboration for transparency through the supply chain. Like I said, we have 31 individual product certificates, 5 going through assessment. So we have a hell of a lot of products out there. We want, in order to reduce our collateral risk exposure in the supply chain, for those products to be installed by competent persons. And the closest your manufacturer can get to the end user is with the installer. Now, how that material gets to the installer is, the way the world works commercially, but the closest link for the manufacturer is to the installer. These are the guys who are on site, on their hands and knees, dealing with the day-to-day issues in weather like today, which is ridiculous. And it's important that the guys who are installing it know how to deal with it, the material on site, in the most efficient way to get the most efficient seal, because these gas protection systems are installed with an anticipated design service life, so a period at which you would expect no maintenance, of at least 50 years. That's a long time for a critical barrier such as a gas membrane to have to function for. So why anyone would want to take the risk with unskilled labour or using the wrong materials is beyond my reasoning. But hey, industry will dictate what happens.
Coming back to Jeff, from the BBA's perspective, how valuable was it working closely with Juta and DMI as the scheme developed?
That was unbelievable. The support and the knowledge that Gordon and Patrick both gave me, and when you consider that, I mean, Gordon's been doing it since God was a boy, and this is, and I was allowed unfettered access, and it was so much help that the reviews that we went through, and the sort of the back and forth was really helpful, and I'm really happy to say thank you very much.
Welcome.
Gordon, coming to you. You were the first installer company who were to be approved through the new scheme. Why was this certification important for you and your team?
We've always striven for quality. I mean, we use quality products. We have teams of lads that absolutely brilliant. They're really efficient, really conscientious, and we found that there are schemes that have been tried and tested. Well, they're not really tested, but they've been tried before that don't really work for us. But to give the main contractors peace of mind to prove that we are conscious of quality, conscious of install quality, and we strive to keep the lads on top of everything, and then to be able to offer an insurance-backed guarantee at the end of it, it's absolutely priceless for us. It takes us apart, and hopefully many more will follow, because it's just such a, it's not a one-size-fits-all, but it's not overly difficult to get to. You prove your points, that you have the management systems in place, the lads are trained properly, you have the correct qualifications, and then your products on the job are all BBA-agrément certificated. It's bliss. No mixing and matching. It just suits us.
Good to know. Coming back to Patrick, looking forward, do you see schemes like this one affecting quality that we see in the industry?
Yeah, I feel like I'm taking up a lot of airtime here, but that's fine. I think, you know, we see the demand from industry for improvement, yeah, but everybody's so busy. Like the construction industry is very busy at the minute, and what you tend to find is everyone's kind of focused on the short term, immediately what's in front of them, and that kind of creates this rush mentality, or what we call just in time, which is often about copy and paste. So, you know, oh, we've done that before here, copy and paste into this solution here. So that what that does is that kind of stifles innovation. When you kind of copy paste, you kind of lose the ability to have a think through what you've done previously, what issues you did face, what problems there were. There's no thought really given to doing it better, innovating, or expanding your knowledge base. So, you know, hopefully schemes like this, not a short-term fix, and you know, like I said before, industry will dictate the success or failure of this sort of scheme. You know, we can't dictate that. What we're doing is, though, we're looking at 10 to 15 years down the line. So we're saying, okay, we have to change, we have to move. So here's a bar, here's a benchmark for an improvement of quality. It's new. So obviously it's not going to be an immediate, it's that or nothing. There's a period of transition, and we'll see. But what we're trying to do is deliver something which prevents potential failures in the future, by getting on board and accepting a scheme which has you know, demonstrable competency through the supply chain, from the manufacturers, the material, the installer, with a single point of warranty from an insurance-backed guarantee. There's a very transparent thread there. I think is great, and hopefully industry does too, and we move in the right direction. And again, if we can make the specifier's job easier, then I can't see them not taking it up, but we'll see. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we've conducted time in motion assessments of specialist installers and unqualified or unspecialist labour, and although there are some very competent groundwork or labourers who will install gas membranes, you always get a more efficient, quicker, better install using a specialist installation company. So it's that balance of time, and time is our most valuable resource. Everybody is pressured by it. Everybody wants to finish earlier, and a specialist installer gives you a quicker install, and obviously with the scheme, with a better product, linking through to an IVG. So yeah, hopefully as the scheme is taken up and industry progresses with it, we will see a huge jump forward in quality for our particular sector.
Gordon, is there anything you would like to add to what Patrick's
I think he summed it up perfectly. I mean, it does give transparency. The big thing for me is giving the client confidence. If that's through showing the fact that we have a license basically that can be taken away at any one moment in time through a bad job, then so be it.
Patrick, again, the next question's to you, and then I come back to Gordon again. Would you be able to share a little bit about your experience, your own experience of working with the BBA on this particular operation?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we have, like I say, we spend a lot of money with BBA over the years, and BBA is not perfect, no organisation is, but I think COVID played its part, as Jeff said at the beginning. We started this process a number of years ago, and then we couldn't see each other, and obviously part of an audit process is being face to face and in person, as well as the practical elements. So that played its part. But yeah, I mean, I think typically of the BBA, the level of knowledge and competency is high, particularly on the audit and assessment side of the products. The communication is excellent. You know, I mean, I refer to Jeff as Papa now. You know, we have a new relationship formed closely over the years. No, I mean, for us, fairly standard. What we would expect from a very professional, competent organisation who knows what they're doing, has similar schemes like this in other sectors. So from our side, it was a fairly smooth transition in terms of making sure we have, obviously we're confident in our own products and what they do, but justifying they do what they say on the tin, and then obviously showing the BBA our level of expectation for competent workmanship with DMI, and yeah, linking it all together, and it was a fairly smooth process. And you know, we kind of bounced it off a couple of the insurance providers in the industry and regulators to see what they thought, and generally the feedback is, you know, go ahead and do it, and then we will look to adopt it. But it's always the same. You have to do it before the industry will adopt it. No one's going to say, yeah, we'll take it, before you actually have something to put in front of them. And we start it, and I'm sure there will be this process of dynamic review and change. I'm not saying it's perfect and this is how it's going to be for 20 years, like exactly like this, no changes. I'm sure there will be elements of tweaks and change, but we need to make sure we maintain the bar we've set. So we're saying this is what we expect, and you know, I'm hopeful other manufacturers and suppliers will also look to commit to that bar. From what I understand, although take up from obviously Juta's approved installers has been high, there has also been others already applying for the scheme, which for me is fantastic. It means that, you know, the other manufacturers out there believe in what we're doing for the good of the industry. So, you know, it's always nice to see that this isn't a selfish thing we've done just for us. We've done it so the whole of industry can hopefully benefit.
Gordon, as an installer, what was your experience going through the approval process for the scheme?
I think it was a learning curve for all three parties involved. There was a bit of let's look and see what we can do initially, and then once we contacted the BBA, apart from the COVID-induced separation bit, it went smoothly, quickly. I mean, the professionalism again that Patrick mentioned, second to none. Jeff makes you feel at ease. The guys that came out that are actually going to be inspecting the works, same again, very professional, very thorough. There was no sense of being on edge all the time. Everybody was comfortable. The knowledge again from Jeff, having worked on other schemes, was unsurmountable. The amount of confidence it gave you that it was going to work in the end. come what may. And I'd recommend it to anybody. Don't be fazed by it.
Right. Jeff, the last question from my side before we go on to the questions. The BBA's mission is to drive quality, helping the industry to manage risks and create safer built environments. If we look at the bigger picture and the wider picture, what are your final thoughts around this importance of schemes like this one to drive this agenda throughout the supply chain?
I think we have to realise that the BBA have a certain reputation of high standards within the construction industry. That includes obviously architects, designers, and specifiers, as Patrick has alluded to earlier. We assess the systems, the products, the manufacture, all the way through to the issue of the agreement certificate, and then we continue to do that through the manufacturing stage on a regular basis. The introduction of the approved installer scheme allows us to continue working closely with our customers and their approved installers to help support, promote, continue improvement in the installation process. We're not perfect, and we will learn, and it's we will get better as this progresses. But I believe it's just a logical step to continue within the scheme.
Right. Thank you, all three of you, for your insight. I will now look at some of the questions that are coming through to the chat, and I mean, whoever wants to pick it, please feel free. One of the first questions is from Dean Smith. He's asking does this scheme only apply if the material is BBA approved? If so, does it cover any BBA approved products or just Juta products?
It has to be a BBA approved product. It doesn't have to be just a Juta product.
Okay.
Sorry, can I just add to that? It's a good question, Dean. And again, I think, of course, we've been involved in the development of the scheme. But yeah, it's for everyone. Any manufacturer who's competent, has the relevant justifications to go through the auditing process. I mean, just to give you an idea, we've 5 products in for BBA certification at the minute. When we submit our application form, there's a 3-month review process. That then kicks into normally like a 12-month process of checking the manufacturing facility, all of our test data, retesting the products. For the base standard, so for gas membranes, that's damp proofing, so EN 13967, and then obviously you have the BS 8485 Table 7 material performance requirements for gas membranes. That can take 12 months. We then go through a twice-yearly audit on each product, as well as a formal technical audit every 3 years, where we go back and do the whole thing again, or review of all test data. So it's a very robust process. And yeah, anyone who's prepared to go through that process, absolutely no reason why you wouldn't look to have competent installers or licensed installers using those products to reduce your collateral risk exposure as a manufacturer or supplier. Yeah.
We have a few from Matt Spiller, but I'll ask them one by one. The first question from Matt is, do the installers have to be NVQ2 qualified?
Yes, they do. We have to determine that they are competent to actually install, and part of that process will be looking at their qualifications.
The next one from Matt again is, once an installer is signed up and assessed, are they able to install any BBA gas membrane under their license?
Providing that they have the approval of the certificate holder for that gas membrane.
The next question is from Lucian. Would you require any gas certification for installers that would like to adhere to the scheme? If yes, which one would be recognized?
I didn't quite understand that. Sorry, say that again.
Would you require any gas certification for the installers that would like to adhere to the scheme? If yes, which one would be recognized?
Patrick, do you know what? I don't know that one.
I mean, I'm assuming it may refer similarly to the MVQ level 2 question.
Oh, right.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
So in terms of the actual individual installer competency, the MVQ level 2 is a well-established qualification, has been around for years and has got good uptake. So we use that as a minimum. So the scheme is structured. So if you're calling yourself a specialist installation company, then it's natural you would have a number of MVQ level 2 installers, on your books, as well as being able to demonstrate things like training records, health and safety, and your processes for dealing with the installation.
Yeah, sorry. Paul Harrison just has a clarification, and he's asking if he's understood it right. To be clear, you're saying that only BBA certified products are allowed to be used within the scheme. No other Agrément certificate membrane is allowed. Is that correct?
If it's a BBA agreement.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we wouldn't look to have a BBA approved installer of a non-BBA agreement product. But I mean, what we have to remember is the divergence of the European Union and the UK. As we chose to do with Brexit, it is what it is. So the British Board of Agrément sat as a globally recognised brand in the UK, certifying products for use onto the UK market is really powerful. It is one of the only places to go in the UK for that. So when you're using European or agreement certificate bodies, you could look to develop a scheme there, but there's always a question of will that even be accepted in the UK. So the BBA was quite naturally the place to go in this particular instance because of their location, their reputation, the history, and the number of products and schemes they already have.
And the BBA agreement certificate is our main point of reference, and that's what the scheme is based upon. That, and as I said earlier, the certificate holders installation methodology. So we're looking at anybody else's agreement certificate, only our own, because we have all of the details and the information that we require at head office to back up anything that we do or say.
Matt has another question. Jeff, you might want to take this one. This scheme covers several manufacturers' membranes. Is there a reason that all certificate holders were not involved or informed?
We wasn't approached by anybody else. Patrick and Juta approached us, and we've put it together. The scheme is there, and now it's open to everybody to apply. And if they have any special requirements, then we can look at those. And potentially with a new issue of the scheme requirements, then we can look at that. But at the moment, there wasn't any reason to contact anybody else as far as we were concerned.
The last question, sorry if I misspelled this name, Deirdre. How long does the approval process take?
That depends entirely upon the installer. As I said, the process is that initially it's a three-party agreement. So the system supplier, the certificate holder, manufacturer, call them whatever you wish, they have to approve those installers to say that they are deemed competent as far as they're concerned to install their product, because they have a certain responsibility within the scheme rules as well. Once that's been done, then the installer will contact us, and we will arrange, as I say, the two-phase. It'll be an office audit to make sure that their management system is suitable, and then we would go out on site and watch them install. That would include a pre-install assessment of the actual property prior to installing itself, and then providing everything is okay, it can probably be done within a couple of months at the most. But it depends, because if they fail anything, then they have to sort of make sure that it's in place before we pass them. So it's not a tick box exercise so much as they've got to conform with the requirements of the rules of the scheme.
So we have a couple of more questions coming through. We have time. The next one is from John, but I'm not sure if you would want to, if we would sort of come back, sort of discuss and then come back, but I'll still ask. He's asking, I've invested heavily on NVQ installers and QMS, showing our competence. What advantage is this scheme to myself? Just another scheme to fund. Will this scheme be recognized by the BS 8485-2015 for planning officers? And how much is this scheme?
Right. With regards to the costings, I think the initial office audit is about £690 plus VAT, and the pre-approval site visit is about £337 plus VAT. So that's about £927 in total plus VAT. Then there's obviously the surveillance for the percentage of work that's going to be installed over a year. We normally do that on a risk base, but we would start on 10%. So 10% of the installs that you do, we would want to look at, and then we would assess it on a reasonably sort of like 3 month, 6 month period to see whether or not that there is a lot of compliance. If compliance is there, then we can look at the percentage and potentially reduce it. With regards to approval via any other schemes, no, this is a standalone scheme that is a BBA approved installer scheme that literally looks at the methodology of the install and how it's installed.
And so is that the cost to the installer, or?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think,
Yeah,
Paul, that answers your other question. Sorry, Patrick.
Just to add to that, I think it's the MVQ level 2 is about the individual installers. So it's almost naturally expected, if you're going to go out there and call yourself a specialist installer or a specialist installation company, then your staff would be trained to do the job. So that MVQ level 2 is kind of almost an expectation at the minute of a minimum quality level or qualification level to be recognised as a gas membrane installer. The scheme is related to the company. So the people on site might be very good at doing their job, but if the company doesn't look after them, they don't train them, they don't check on them constantly, they don't have proper health and safety records, certificates of conformity, records of installation, day logs, etc., 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 then the office side of things isn't at a level for company competency. Yeah, so this particular scheme links everything you do in a business as a specialist gas membrane installer, from training your staff, operating your business, good quality workmanship, etc., etc., to using the right products, so certified products designed to perform the intended function for the lifetime, installed to a high standard, which then unlocks this insurance-backed guarantee. So of course there's a cost, like you're paying for people's time to come and audit, assess, and regularly inspect your work. So not like as great as the MVQ level 2 is, it's a driving license. So we hear it referred to as a driving license test. You pass it, and then you're not checked again. So the difference with a regular audit scheme like this is that constant assessment. And obviously, if you are not achieving those competency levels, then your license or accreditation to install gas membranes can be removed. So the incentive is to keep hitting those levels and keep promoting yourself as a licensed and accredited installer. Obviously, I think Matt Spiller raised a question about why the BBA wasn't talking to others. The Juta has taken the scheme on with our own branded version, so as a GP license installer, which has other commercial benefits to our installation contractors. So, you know, if you're out there and you're not dealing with Juta, give us a ring. See if we can help you. Maybe make life a bit easier for you.
Interesting. So is there like a separate cost to the certificate holders, or is there a cost for certificate holders?
No. As far as we're concerned, the the installer is the person that we are going to be assessing. So therefore, they're the person that undertakes the cost, because there's going to be an annual office audit of the management system to make sure that everything's in place, including training, pack testing, tool, equipment checks, and so on and so forth. And that's on an annual basis. And then, as I said, the surveillance will be set on a percentage of the installs for the following year.
Okay, Matt Spiller again. He has a question. Some installers have a high turnover of installers. How will this be managed?
That's
Sorry, again,
scheme manager. That's down for the installer to manage. If they don't have the requisite qualifications, then we would not approve them. And if we approve them 1 year and they lose all of their MVQ installers and we go back the next year, then we can't continue their approval. They will either be suspended until such time as they show evidence that their installers are qualified, or we withdraw them. We're looking to continually improve the standard of the install over a long period of time. So that's the only way we can do it.
This is the collateral risk we were talking about earlier. I'm happy to talk to Matt offline and explain it if needs be in more detail. But if you have an MVQ level 2 installer as an individual, that's individual qualification, they leave the organisation, like that cost of training or development has left the organisation, but the organisation is still accredited and licensed to install gas membranes. Yeah, that individual installer may go out and set up their own business, work on their own, and if something goes wrong on one of those jobs, even though they are a competent installer and they know what they're doing and can do it to a high level, if something goes wrong, the collateral risk exposure immediately just kicks back to the product manufacturers and suppliers, because the installer just says, I'm a one-man band, boom, I'm disappearing. Like I have no assets, no liability here, bang, I'm gone. So it's like if having that transparency about what's happening, company competence, and a point of responsibility when things go wrong is something industry is crying out for every job. Who's responsible for this? Who's designing that? Who's taking liability? Where do I go if something goes wrong? And if you're self-employed and you're working on your own, you absolutely can't. You cannot take liability for a £3-4 million job. It doesn't make any sense. So this is about kind of wrapping that up to give the end users and owner occupiers that comfort blanket and confidence that everything's been done right, and if anything does go wrong, there's somewhere they can go.
And ultimately, they will ask for that prior to offering a contract to anybody, Patrick.
No, absolutely, and this is what I mean. The whole advent of the building safety regulator all it's doing is bringing everything to a point of responsibility. And if you haven't clocked that, then it's time you kind of sit up and realise that that's what's happening. Yeah, you can stand still and hope that everything we've done for the years will remain as it is and it won't affect you, but you're just burying your head in the sand. Yeah, industry is changing, we're being asked to level up, we're being asked to demonstrate competency, we're being asked to take responsibility for what we're doing in a transparent manner, and this particular scheme gives you all of that.
Yeah. Matt, I hope that clarifies some of the questions that you might have. The next question is from Philip Harvey. He's asking, who is insuring the installs?
The installers or the installation? Must be the installation, doesn't it?
Probably, yeah. I mean, Philip, if you want to clarify. you can, I'll wait for you to clarify, and in the meantime, I'll ask you the next question from John, and he's saying the QMS. I think Patrick previously, Patrick previously spoke about the QMS and bit of clarification of the QMS. John says QMS, it does exactly that, and it shows all training records and all the health and safety issues and the constant update of records.
That's it. Yeah. If that's what we review when we come to do the office audit, to ensure that the individuals that are required to be trained are trained, and then we take that when we go out on site and we assess who the individuals are on site to make sure that we have seen their records at the office audit, so that it shows that that person is qualified to do the job that he is out there to do.
And so John says, so are QMS happy with that?
Are QMS happy with that?
Yes, A-R-E-R. I mean,
Sorry,
are they?
John?
We can answer that later. I mean, I'm sure what that question means, but so Philip has clarified, saying yes, he means installation. So who's ensuring the installation?
Okay. Well, I think Patrick, you may need to take that one, because we don't do the guarantees.
Yeah, so the scheme is underwritten with Quality Mark Insurance. So they are the insurance provider. So once the installer has completed the accreditation process and licensing process, they're given a license number. So you go through the office audit stage, the product audit stage, the installation audit stage. You are then issued a licensing pack from the BBA, which has a BBA logo with a unique license number for you. You are listed on the BBA website as a licensed gas membrane installer, and it lists the products you are licensed to install as part of your license. When you log into the Quality Mark system, you use your license number, which then gives you access to your insurance-backed guarantee scheme. So you register the projects you're working on, the volume of material, and that will generate an insurance policy, which has a cost, as all insurance policies do, which then you can offer to your customers. Now, some customers may choose not to take up an insurance-backed guarantee, and others will. So if we're in, for example, structural waterproofing, the insurance providers will explicitly ask for insurance-backed guarantees for the product installations there. So again, this is new to our sector. We need to see how it develops, but that is ultimately how the process works with Quality Mark underwriting the workmanship insurance-backed guarantees.
We have one question from Kevin Mitchell. He's saying, if an installation company has achieved British Geomembrane Association gas membrane installation company accreditation, will this be taken into account by the BBA for audit purposes, as the two schemes are similar?
Yeah, I think it's a good demonstration of competency. So you're already achieving a level there, which I'm sure would go in your favour if you're going through the audit process, for sure.
Yeah, but at the same token, they still have to comply with our requirements also. So it's not a pass.
So John has clarified that are QMS happy with the fact that you're using their auditing process to help with yours?
When we say QMS, we say quality management system. So we're assessing the individual entity's quality management system. We're not talking about anybody, any governing body like ISO or anything like that. We're just saying, have you got a management system? And if you have, can we see it? And then we will review it to ensure that it does what it needs to do for us to be happy that the company are suitable to be taken on as a member.
I think we are done with almost all the questions. I think there's one last, seems to be a comment from Trevor. As you know, manufacturers incur great costs in not only the BBA certification, but also testing to provide results to show suitability of the product for the application. The introduction of this scheme is now going to require a level of resource and place onus on the product manufacturer, similar to HAPAS. Will auditing be required by the manufacturer?
So the manufacturer has a responsibility under the scheme to ensure that the installers that they're promoting or allowing as license for their products are competent. So as part of the process, the manufacturer is required to demonstrate they've done their own checks on the installer through the year. I mean, that for me, that's fairly standard. We've always done that. You know, any company which touts themselves as a specialist installer and wants to use our critical barrier products. So these aren't just plastic membranes sticking in the ground to fill with water and allow us a natural pond feature outside. These are stopping ground gas and contaminants from entering the structure, which are ultimately protecting the inhabitants or human inhabitants of said structure over a long period of time. So it's quite natural as a manufacturer or supplier that you want the people installing it to do a reasonable job. Otherwise, it does come back on you. It's quite natural for, you know, even when there are problems on site, the supply chain will say, whose material is it? And they say, oh, it's Juta's material. So we get a phone call. And they say, oh, there's a problem on site. And we say, okay, who's the installer? Oh, we're doing it ourselves. What are you doing? You know, that's the natural process. You don't immediately jump in the car and go to site and look at the problem. You say, well, who's the installer? And if they turn around and say, oh, it's DMI, I say, well, what's Gordon said? And have you spoke to DMI first? You know, check with the guys who are on site dealing with it. Can we resolve it there? If not, then we can come and get involved. But yes, it's quite natural for the manufacturers and suppliers to have to audit their supply chain or keep tabs that they're doing everything properly.
I think that's about all the questions. If there are any last minute questions, if there are any questions, I'll probably wait for 10, probably count down from 10 if there are any questions that need to come through, and otherwise we can just end it a few minutes early.
If anybody has any questions and they need to contact me, then all they've got to do is contact the BBA and they'll give out my details, and I will, you know, happily come and see them, or, you know, have a visit and run through what's required for them. You know, I don't have a problem with that. I'll help out as much as I can.
Yeah, likewise. You know, I think you know, a lot of people, I think, who are tuned in have got my number anyway. But you know, if you want to talk to me offline or contact me and have a chat, like, always happy to take the call and have a chat. Always.
Yeah, the idea is to work with you, you know, and you know, and that's all we're trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, I know that some people might need, if you don't mind, just giving out your email address, and if you can just say it out loud for those of them who want to contact you.
Well, mine's gchambers@bba-certs.co.uk, all lowercase.
Yeah.
Mine's easier than that, but I'm Patrick at Juta, JUTA.co.uk.
Right. Gordon?
Gordon, Gordon, at gasmembrane.co.uk. All lowercase.
Great. Thank you, all of you, for joining us today. Just a reminder that this webinar has been recorded, so if you want to rewatch it or share it with a colleague, just please keep a lookout for the link to be published on the website. And for more information and other schemes and our services provided by the BBA, please visit BBA-certs.co.uk. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time, and I will.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.